Hey, I loved my grandma. Oh man, I wish she was still around. Hey guys, welcome to the channel. My name is Source of Food, and if you're happening on the channel for the first time, this is where we talk about childhood memories. Memories as they were um, growing up in the 60s and into the 70s, and maybe a little bit of the 80s somewhat. Yeah, so so I was born in the 60s. I grew up with my grandma. She was my rock, man. She was my rock. Yeah, wow. I miss her a lot. She passed away in 2016, and wow, that changed my life. Anyway, yeah, so I was born in rural Jamaica in the early 60s. I grew up as a kid with my grandmother. Now, back in those days, you found a lot of grandparents raising children, because for some reason, um, well, the main reason for that, when I was growing up in the 60s, was the fact that many of the biological mothers and dads, they left, especially those who were born in the 50s, especially 40s and 50s. They left the community in search of a better life somewhat. So many of them moved to England, many of them moved to the United States, and many moved to Canada, leaving their children behind with their parents. Right, so in my community, especially my little village, there were a lot of grandparents, a lot of grandparents raising kids, raising their grandchildren. And I was a product of, one of that kind of situation. My mom left home when I was maybe about five, I think maybe around 5 or 6. She left, like many moms and dads, she left home in search of a better life. The difference, though, was that she was still in Jamaica. So she was able to visit from time to time to come see us, now and then. But for the most part, I grew up with my grandma, and to a certain extent, my granddad, who passed away when I was around 10. Right. So at the age of 10, it was just my grandmother alone, raising four of us grandchildren at home, my younger brother and two cousins, from my late aunt. Yeah, so my grandma, she, after my grandfather died, she had to work like a man. Yeah, she had to work like a man, so to speak, to put food on the table, to make sure that we attend school. She did whatever it took, to make us comfortable, to feed us, and to clothe, and to keep clothing on our back. Because my dad was not in the picture per se. He had a family elsewhere in the country, so he was not so much in the picture. Once a year, he may send a $20 note in an envelope, in a letter. Yeah, so that's how it was. But even from a young age, I could see how my grandmother, she's struggled. Um, she every day she would be up doing something. She'd be doing something in the garden. She would be planting. She would be sewing. She would be picking coffee. She would be, you know, whatever it took. But apart from that, you know, because she was basically the sole breadwinner of the house or in the home, she had to find ways to make money, right? To make a little money so that she could, at least buy food for us kids, right? So, even from a young age, I could see the stress on her face sometimes, the worry sometimes, you know. But she was never the kind of lady who complained. She just got up every day and she did what she had to do to make sure that we were fed. We had, somewhere to sleep, and we were able to go to school. We have clean clothes to go to school. So I remember back then, man, like I said, she had to work like a man. People would hire her to do all kind of odd jobs here and there. I remember this gentleman in the community who used to hire her. She and her and another sister that was living in the community, a sister of hers. That's my grand aunt. This man used to hire them to work on his farm, to work in his garden. So they would be like, back home we would say weeding grass. They'd be weeding grass for the man using the what was called the belly woman machete. Yeah, man. Yeah, so she would be doing that. People would hire her to do laundry. Sometimes she would be carrying mulch for people to mulch their garden. She would be helping people to reap their crops. She would be, she would be helping people to reap their coffee crops. All kind of odd jobs, man. All kind of odd jobs. And basically, that was, for the most part, that was just to put food on the table. That was just to put food on the table, because that was the most important thing then. We had a little old bed to sleep on. We had a house that was a home that was not excellent, but at least we were able to sleep in it. Yeah, but for the most part, whatever she worked, it was basically to put food on the table. I can remember, in some of the hard times, as a kid, some of the really hard times when she never had any money. Sometimes she would send me to someone in the community to borrow some money from maybe a neighbor or someone else. And you know what the sad part of that was? She never had a way of paying back the money, like paying back in cash, if you understand what I'm talking about. So many times what she had to do, she had to work it out. When I say work it out, it's like a barter agreement. So she borrowed the money to buy us food or whatever, and then she had to work for that person, like do a day's work or 2 days work as repayment, because she never had the cash to pay back, right? But even as a child, I saw those things. I remember sometimes, she would send me to this gentleman who would hire her quite a bit to work on his farm, especially in the rainy season when we had no money and we had no food, and he would send me to him. And this gentleman was so kind. He never said no, And many times I was, as a kid, I was really embarrassed to be borrowing money from people so frequently. And she had no other choice but to, my grandmother, she had no other choice but to work it out or to pay back doing some general labor, because she never had a way of paying back the money. So, as a kid growing up, I watched her, and I observed her, and it made me just admire her strength, her resilience, her courage, the things she went through for us as kids. I sometimes looking back now as an adult, it brings tears to my eyes, man. But like I said, even from a young age, I could see how difficult life was for her. Because it's not like we had any other form of financial support. My mom was away. She started a family with her late husband. She had 4 other kids apart from us 2, who were the first, and so she had her life to deal with, right? So that's how it was. My grandmother, she toiled and she struggled every day, and I said, wow. I really admire this lady. Yeah, so I spent most of my childhood years with her. I think I left home when I was around maybe 21 or 22 when I left her. When I started working, but just looking back, one of the things I said, I vowed to myself, looking back at how much she went through to provide for us. One thing I said, oh man, I have to pay back my grandmother for what she did, at least some. I couldn't. There's no way I can repay her, or I could repay her for everything that she did for us. There were 4 of us as grandkids at home, and she was the only one. But I said to myself, I have to pay her back. So so one of the things that, how should I say, the first thing that I did when I started, when I got my first job, I thought about the old house that we all lived in, the little cabin, a little 2-bedroom thing, no bathroom on it, no kitchen. But that was the standard then. The kitchen and the bathroom was, at least where I grew up in rural Jamaica, was always away from the house. The house was in such a bad state of disrepair. We had, if you're from the Caribbean, even if you're not from the Caribbean, you know that we have a lot of hurricanes in the Caribbean. So this house endured quite a few hurricanes, and it was losing parts of the roof. It was leaking. The doors were rotting out, and all those kind of stuff. And I said, wow, man, I can't. There's no way I can allow my grandmother to continue to live in this kind of condition. At that point, I was around 22. I'm talking about childhood memories. I know 22 I'm already an adult, but I'm just looking back as growing up in that home as a kid, from birth, and the house, the old house was still there, depreciating day by day, and no one to help, because the house was not a priority per se. It's a priority, yes, but food was more important, right? So when I started working, one of the first thing I did, I got a loan. I bought blocks. I purchased steel. I purchased roofing material. I purchased, cement and whatever, and I built her a nice little home. Same spot, but kind of surrounding the, adding to the old house and repairing that old structure, and and adding to it somewhat, just so that she could have somewhere comfortable to sleep. So I built her, a fairly decent little 3-bedroom with a bathroom, decent bathroom with a bathtub and everything attached, kitchen attached to the house, um, you know, bathroom with toilet, and she was so happy. I could see the joy in her face. I could see the relief that, when she was lying in her bed at night, she didn't have to worry about, the cold air coming through, rats running through the house, the roof leaking, and I have to be setting containers on the floor to catch water sometimes, those were some of the conditions I grew up in as a kid. You're lying in the bed at night and it's raining. You have to be moving from one side of the bed to the other side of the bed, so that or you had to move the bed, because water would be dripping down on you. Or if you're not moving the bed, or the bed is not getting wet, maybe water is dripping over there on the floor, and you have to be setting a container there to catch water, right? Those were some of the conditions that I grew up in as a little kid. I can remember those vividly. So, when I had the chance to do something to give her a better home, somewhere better to sleep, more secure, was comfortable, not leaking, warm at night, no rodents running around in the house. Oh man, I felt so good. I felt as if everything she had done for me, I was able to repair her back somewhat. I mean, I could never repay her for everything that she did. But for me as a kid growing up in that environment, enduring all that we endured then, that was significant for me. Really significant for me. Because, like I said, everything that she worked was basically to buy food. Basically, that's what it boiled down to, right? No money to repair the house, or no one else to help. Everyone had their struggles around that time. Yeah. So, man, just looking back, thinking back about those days, and my grandma, and the way she struggled, the way she persevered, the way she the strength that I saw in her, the courage that I saw in her. Yeah, you know what the funny thing is? As I got older, or when I became an adult and I was able to do the math, I start thinking about stuff on a deeper level. I realized that my grandma became a widow at the age of 50. Yeah? She became a widow at the age of 50. When I looked at, all the necessary records when my grandfather died, birth dates and everything, and she died at age 93, right? So for 43 years, she was a widow before she passed away. But, I'm just, reminiscing on all of this because, she's someone whom I really admired, someone who meant a lot to me. I think about her so often. I can't, there's no way everything that she did for us or did for me is not something that I can easily forget, And for that reason, I just thought I would just talk about her today, as it relates to my childhood and upbringing. She did the best she could in the toughest of times, and I really loved her for that. So if you're happening on this channel for the first time, and you like these kind of videos where we sit and reminisce about childhood memories, the good old days, maybe the not so good old days, subscribe to the channel, right? If you like this episode today, hit the like button, right? But apart from that, I'd like you to leave a comment in the comment section below. Tell me about someone who may or may not be still around, but has played a significant role in your life, and who, really means a lot to you, or meant a lot to you. The things that they did for you as a child growing up. Leave a comment in the comment section below. Just a quick note about someone who you really admired, and still wish was still around, or like I said, maybe the person is still around, But leave some comments in the comment section below. Tell me about what life was like for you as a kid growing up. Maybe you grew up with, maybe not with your grandparents, but with, an aunt or someone who really, really meant a lot to you. And every time you think about them, probably like me, sometimes it brings tears to my eyes, might bring tears to your eyes, or may just bring back fond memories, right? So until we talk again, my name is Source of Food, and take care of yourself, stay safe, all right? And until we meet again, bye.